really the first time that money has truly, and I really say this, has truly kind of met with the underlying technology protocols that we're building, that have been built in Silicon Valley. Mark Andreessen has long said, look, I regret that we did not build a native payment methodology into, the Netscape browser. And I think now we're starting to do that, right? TCP is sort of the base level information protocol. And then sitting above that, you have Bitcoin's blockchain, you have Ethereum, and you have other protocols. So it's a really exciting time. We're moving from, the internet of, information, TCP and HTTP, to the internet of commerce and internet of trust and internet of money. So it's going to impact every single industry. So you as BD professionals should truly think of every industry as one that has the potential to be transformed by blockchain technology, as well as crypto assets. And crypto assets, so the tokens that sit above and are kind of the economic incentives of these public blockchains are really important. But because I have 15 minutes, I'm going to stop with my little philosophical rant. I actually wish I had an hour because I would have kept going. And I'll move into some implications for business development professionals in today's blockchain environment. So where we sit today is that we have, as I've mentioned, massive money inflows and sizable market caps, right? $5.6 billion invested in ICOs through Q1, from the beginning of 2017 through Q1 2018. Remarkable. I mean, that's, compares to significant VC flows. It's really humongous. We can all talk about what's actually happened with those inflows. A lot of them have just been placed in other coins and have lost 2/3 of their value. But the inflows are significant. In addition, at the peak in January, the overall quote-unquote market cap, which is somewhat of a misnomer, but the market cap of all of the publicly traded protocols exceeded $800 billion. By the way, it's now fallen below $250 billion today, and we're at somewhat of a low. I can tell you that's not impacting the day-to-day work that's happening in the space. I've never seen enthusiasm. People like me are committed, have left. I was the founder of a company that has 70 people, over 20 million in gross revenue, again, off the record, and is doing exceptionally well here in New York City, Button, because I wanted to follow my passion into a really significant space, blockchain and crypto assets, that I believe will fundamentally influence so many industries over the next 20 to 30 years. Okay, getting back to my bullet points, because I know I'm running short on time and I could talk for an hour. Blockchain and BD, and I'm just going to stick with 2018. So the challenge for a business development professional in 2018 who is looking to fully enter into, meaning make a career in the blockchain / crypto asset space, is basically 6 or 7-fold. Okay, the true enterprise BD scale opportunities are very limited, and the reason is, if you look at the ICOs that happened, if you look at the protocols that have been funded, if you look at Bitcoin, I mean, if you look at Ethereum, let's just stick with Ethereum. It's the second most valuable protocol. It's a public protocol. It works. It's stable, but it's not scalable. It basically failed for 3 days last year in late Q3, early Q4, when an application called CryptoKitties was launched on top of it. Scarce digital goods. You could buy a CryptoKitty, like a digital kitty. You could dress it up. You could do all kinds of cute things with it. And, it's the old Chris Dixon, things start as toys and then blah, 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 blah. Chris Dixon's smarter than me, so you can all read the post. But it's going to be important, I think, because Andreessen Horowitz and Union Square Ventures just invested in CryptoKitties last week. So crypto doggies are coming, I'm sure crypto dragons, and hopefully they don't eat the kitties. But bottom line is we're still at kind of the toy phase, But what's interesting is the protocol, Ethereum, literally was not capable of supporting the volume. So transaction clearing time slowed down dramatically. So it's really hard for a business person to have an impact there. Literally, they were calling in engineers from other protocols like EOS, like Bitcoin, and saying, help us solve the scaling problem, this throughput problem right now. Somebody like me would have felt absolutely helpless when the CryptoKitties issue happened, just a few months ago. So my quote here, and by the way, I will send to you, and I tweeted this, and I like to share things everywhere. I LinkedIn it, my notes for this, but we need to. So you may have heard the meme HODL, H-O-D-L, instead of hold. It means literally just hold into infinity. We need to build. BIDL, B-U-I-D-L is the new meme. And it's heads down, engineers need to build because the technology platforms are literally not ready to handle the types of apps and services that we've come to expect, okay? The reason they're not is because, and I'm oversimplifying greatly, blockchain and crypto asset technology, but blockchains, public blockchains, not the Ripple permissioned, corporate stuff, not IBM blockchain, which is vapor, but the actual public blockchains, have a hard time scaling because they rely on they don't rely like a bank as a centralized trusted intermediary. A public blockchain like Ethereum, a public blockchain like Bitcoin is basically decentralized, and therefore it relies on machines. So Bitcoin relies on proof of work, so it relies on a distributed set of computers to compete in real time to solve a really complex computer problem or algorithmic problem, and the first one to solve it gets a block reward, which is 12.5 Bitcoin. That block reward is rewarded every 10 minutes. It's a huge competition, and then that reward has to be validated by other computers that were competing for that reward. So that's why it's called mining. So there is real work and real economic incentive to have this distributed trust not controlled by one person. What that means, though, is that throughput is more challenging, it's slower, and it's why you see a lot of alternatives popping up, like permission distributed ledgers, like Hashgraph, like Dfinity. Anybody who wants to talk to me about this afterwards can. But we're not ready to scale, which makes it hard for a business person to come in and do big, meaningful revenue-generating partnerships, okay? Next, how much time do I have, Scott? Awesome. Well, if I get boring, just literally start sleeping or somebody snore. So important partnerships are technical in nature, and I know we've all seen this, right? I've worked at companies. Google Wallet, the earliest partnerships there were candidly a partnership between our Android team and a handset manufacturing team, and gotta be honest, I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So I was okay, cool, wait 2 months until you figure that out. By the way, my office is great and we have good food, so this is a cool place to be. We're kind of at that place with some of these partnerships, and what that means is, for example, there's Ethereum, which is known as sort of the world computer, meaning it's a decentralized computer. Don't get me started, it'll take 10 minutes to explain it, but bottom line is computers are being built on top of that, and applications, they're called decentralized applications, are being built on top of the Ethereum protocol. And so one manifestation of that is decentralized exchanges. So the OX protocol is one of the most popular. I don't make investment recommendations, but hey, take a look at the OX protocol. It trades as ZRX. And I'm not invested in it myself, by the way, so I'm literally not talking my book. I may be sending you off an abyss. But they work very closely with the Ethereum team. They work very closely with venture-backed companies and other companies that are building on the OX protocol, which is a second layer protocol on top of Ethereum. Bottom line, these are BD partnerships that are technical and don't involve any sort of material terms that a typical non-technical business development person would negotiate. Okay? Next, your experience will vary greatly depending on the type of company or project you work on. Okay? If you go to IBM blockchain, you know what? Just walk out. If you go to, no, but literally, they will run a really, really big business. They're going to make a boatload of money. I actually think there's an opportunity for really, really well-educated, sophisticated folks who understand permission ledgers, public blockchains, and what IBM is currently selling to go in there and influence people and meet with some of the biggest companies in the world, because IBM's working with JD.com, with Walmart. So you know, candidly, I think it really could be a really exciting place for people to go. I've met some of the people. I've not been impressed with them. So I would encourage a brave person to go in there and, you know, rock the boat and really make a meaningful impact because you're going to have access. Ripple is doing some really exciting stuff. They have one of the best sales and BD teams in the world. There's a guy named Danny Aranda who's been with them. He was their fifth, I think, like, you know, 10th or 15th employee. He's actually based here in New York. I'm not going to offer to introduce you to him, but you guys can network to him. He'd like slap me if I was like, yeah, 100 people, go see Danny. But he just moved here. He's the real deal, and they're doing some really interesting things. Ripple as a private company is really interesting. Ripple as a public token is something different. Danny's working on a lot of the private company stuff. So they're working with banks. They're trying to convince companies like Uber and Airbnb that if I'm going to stay at an Airbnb in Thailand and I'm an American, that I should pay with XRP for virtually no fee versus paying with US dollars. They receive it in Thai baht. Come on, I got it right after you said it. You know, you save some fees there. So there's some interesting applications. They're competing with Stellar and others to do that. So there are some protocols, some of the larger ones that do have roles like that I think are still super high risk, but frontier level and really exciting, okay? Public protocols. I'm truly unclear on what BD needs there are at Bitcoin, at Ethereum. They're still very developer-led. You know, I'm happy to talk to you in more depth about that. The next is VC-funded company. There are a bunch of them. The best thing to do is, I can provide, you know, I'll provide a list to Scott of the best VC funds. They all list their portfolio companies on their websites. Go meet them. Like, there are some really interesting companies. Chainalysis here in New York just got backed by Benchmark. They're doing some phenomenal things. There's another company that just got backed by Sequoia. I won't name them because it's not public. So there's some really exciting companies. So VC-funded companies are an interesting place to be for a BD executive. The key here, though, is you're going to need sales and marketing skills, okay? Because a lot of what you're doing is marketing something that's completely new, explaining it. It's not only selling, but it's creating this collateral and creating excitement and interest. Lastly, investment funds. I really think, so there is so much money pouring into the space. Follow the money, right? Like, so much money has been raised by hedge funds, like billions and billions of dollars in the last 9 months for blockchain dedicated hedge funds. They don't only need chief investment officers, research analysts. They need business development people to go out and tell them what to do. A perfect example is the stuff you read about, funnily enough, in the New York Post this week about a tokenized real estate building. So go out, hunt, use those business development skills that you have to find interesting opportunities. If you know that there is a fund that has $300 million or you know, and partners with firms that have $1 billion worth and they want to tokenize real estate, and you have a real estate background, well, hell, yep, pound the pavement. All right. So most partnerships are more about PR marketing and ecosystem development. You will have to, in some cases, be satisfied with not generating recurring revenue, okay? So if you're a true salesperson, and I am one, I really love sales, and I'm like the MBA guy, definitely not MBA. I can't even dunk on like a 6-foot hoop, who loves sales. But if you love sales, this is a tough, tough area. You're not going to be generating recurring revenue for most of your partnerships. A lot of them are PR-oriented. Examples are Ripple's bank, you know, and money transfer pilots, which Ripple's effectively paying for. IBM blockchain, you know, they're paying for their food safety thing with JD and Walmart. Again, interesting exposure, but not recurring revenue generating. And they're going to be partnership-oriented. One cool area to look at, I did say don't look at the public protocols, but you may want to look at their funds, okay? So each one of them is either has or is considering, so EOS, for example, is very commercial, and with Galaxy Digital, based right down here in Soho, great folks, has a $325 million fund in partnership with EOS that they're looking to deploy. As I said, follow the money, an opportunity can come. Ripple is doing tons of grants. Danny Aranda here in New York is doing some of that. And then there's an Ethereum community fund, but I don't like that one. All right, characteristics of I'm going to run through this last thing. Characteristics of a successful blockchain BD person. Depth of knowledge across multiple disciplines. This is where like you separate the wheat from the chaff. So basically, you have to have knowledge of economics, politics, cryptography. Just kidding. But understand what the definition of cryptography is. I actually don't, but no, I'm kidding. Distributed systems, monetary systems, the history of money, all of those things. I have some cool little slides that I'll send to him on like these like matrix and Venn diagrams of how confusing the things are that you need to know to have a competent conversation. It took me 6 months. A willingness to build a historical foundation across disciplines, a willingness to read. I don't know if you saw the recent biography of Warren Buffett's, the guy who's going to basically replace him, the 47, 48-year-old who's leading the Amazon, JP Morgan, and what does he run? Thank you, guys. So helpful. But he's 47. He reads 12 hours a day. Super fit. I don't know how he does that. He probably like reads books and runs, but he's so smart. You have to read voraciously or listen to podcasts because there's just so much information to consume. Embrace change. 1 blockchain year equals 9 normal years. It's like cats. Like it literally moves so fast. It's scary, but scary fun. Be willing to be dumb. I am, like always. He can tell from following on Twitter. Like I used to delete my tweets because they were so dumb, and then I just decided to keep them up there and let people bash me. Deep flexibility and creativity, ability to market and promote. And a good sense of humor, because honestly, a lot of this stuff is going to prove not to be successful. You need thick skin, a sense of humor, to understand that some of the things you pushed for that you believed in turn out, for so many reasons to be shit or took 5 years longer to develop than you expected. But there's going to be some really, 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 really important technology, built on the blockchain. It's going to transform companies. One last thing is it's going to be really unclear whether the benefits go to society as a whole, kind of like what Amazon's doing with just giving consumer good away and just like killing consumer surplus to the world, private companies, or these new public protocols. So be comfortable that you could work on some of the most amazing things of your life, but you don't know if the value will actually accrue to the entity or organization that you're working for. Thank you.